Are you looking to move to the Triangle region of North Carolina, but have been completely overwhelmed with deciding which part of town is right for you? Well, today I'm going to do a head-to-head of two of the communities people ask me about the most, Raleigh and Cary, to help you determine if either of them might be right for you. They may be right next to each other on the map, but they have completely different vibes and offerings. And if you're looking for even more insight into what neighborhoods might be a great fit for you, then stick around until the end of the video where I'll tell you about an amazing free resource I have for you. But before I give away that secret, my name is Matt Martin. I'm a Raleigh-based realtor and a transplant to the Triangle, originally from LA and New York City. So I went through the same city versus city decision myself back in 2021, and I've helped a lot of clients do the same since then. So if you're considering to move to the Triangle region, I'd love to help you too. All right, let's start with some basics like size and location. Raleigh, as you probably already know, is the capital of North Carolina and the second largest city in the state after Charlotte. So it's of course going to be a much larger city than Cary, both geographically and population-wise. Raleigh spans about 150 square miles to Cary's 60, and the populations follow that same ratio, with Raleigh surpassing 500,000 residents back in 2024, and Cary quickly approaching 200,000. That makes them the two largest cities in Wake County. And really quickly, before I get eviscerated in the comments, I am going to refer to Cary as a city in parts of this video for simplicity's sake, like I just did, but it's technically the town of Cary. Okay, back to the comparison. So aside from being the state's capital, Raleigh is also one of the three major cities that makes up the Triangle. So when you draw an imaginary line between it, Durham, and Chapel Hill, and more specifically between our three Tier 1 research universities found across those three cities, NC State, Duke, and UNC Chapel Hill, then you'll get the shape from which the region derives its name. And as you can see on this map, Raleigh forms the easternmost part of this triangle, which means you're about 20 to 25 minutes from the airport, 25 minutes to Research Triangle Park, 30 minutes to Durham, and about 45 minutes to Chapel Hill. Cary, on the other hand, is just over 10 miles west of Raleigh, which puts it pretty smack dab in the middle of everything. Now, the Triangle region doesn't have definitive borders, but my general definition of it is anything within about a 30-minute drive of Research Triangle Park, or RTP, since that's historically been the economic hub of the region. And Cary is just down the road from RTP, so you can get there in about 15 minutes. You can also get to the airport in under 15 minutes, and Durham and Chapel Hill each in about 30 minutes. Now, that's just from each city's downtown, but there are parts of Raleigh that are literally minutes from the airport, like Briar Creek, and parts of Cary, like Lockmere, where you'll need to tack on another 10 minutes. So it's important to take that into consideration if your commute is important to you. But overall, you're typically going to be more centrally located in Cary, and that's one of the main reasons so many people are flocking there. So let's talk about what to do in each city. One area where both shine bright is with their parks and greenways. In Raleigh, you'll find Dorothea Dix Park, which is the 300-acre centerpiece of the city that's undergoing a massive glow-up that includes the recently opened Gibson Play Plaza and the Trolls installation by Dutch artist Thomas Dombo. But there are literally hundreds of other parks, and I actually made a whole video about my favorites across the Triangle, which you can find right here, including Fred Fletcher Park, Pullen Park, and JC Park for sand volleyball and tennis. Then in Cary, the star of the show is absolutely downtown Cary Park, which is a 7-acre, multi-million-dollar park that has completely transformed the area. Truly, you can't miss this park when you come to visit. There are also over 30 public parks, the most notable of which are Hemlock Bluffs Nature Preserve and Umstead Park, which are both incredible for their natural beauty and hiking trails. Then we have the Greenways, which run all throughout the Triangle. Raleigh takes the slight edge with over 100 miles of total trails, but Cary's not too far behind at over 95 miles, so you're gonna have plenty of options wherever you end up. And I will say that Cary has done a much better job of creating universal signage for its greenway trails, which really makes it easy to find them as you're driving around town. Then outside of the outdoor activities, you can expect to find more big city activities in Raleigh versus Cary, which really shouldn't be a surprise. Raleigh is home to our top museums like the North Carolina Museum of Art and the North Carolina Museum of Natural History. It's home to multiple live music venues, including Red Hat Amphitheater, Walnut Creek Coastal Credit Union Amphitheater, and the Lenovo Center. And it's where you'll find a lot of the large street festivals held in the region, like Broogaloo and the Hopscotch Music Festival. In Cary, you'll find the Kokabooth Amphitheater, which is home to live music performances and the incredible Chinese Lantern Festival every year around the holidays. Really, this one cannot be missed. Plus, there are seasonal festivals throughout the year, like the Lazy Days Arts and Crafts Festival, and then its spring counterpart, Spring Days. So you'll still have plenty to do, but you'll likely find yourself commuting into Raleigh for the largest events. In terms of shopping, there's a bit of a battle going on right now between Cary and Raleigh for who's going to get the best high-end shopping, and I think Raleigh is in the lead. This goes back to it being a more established city, so there are just more options, but the main shopping district in Raleigh is North Hills. Now, this started as just a mall, but like most things in the Triangle, it's been undergoing a huge renovation lately, and it now includes a Restoration Hardware showroom with a restaurant and bar, Chanel, multiple dining options, apartments, a hotel, and tons of other boutique and chain stores like J. Crew, Bonobos, and Warby Parker. But it's also now expanding into what's being called the North Hills Innovation District and the Exchange, which are two massive developments that are bringing tons of new apartments, restaurants, shops, and office space to North Hills. I've made a few videos about this, so I won't go into too many details here, but suffice it to say that these developments are essentially creating a second downtown in Raleigh, and it's been incredible to watch. The other main shopping options in Raleigh are Crabtree Valley Mall for those who are nostalgic for the days of the traditional indoor mall, and then Village District, which was the first shopping center built in the Southeast back in 1949 and has continually been updated to include a great mix of dining and boutique shopping. Then over in Cary, the main shopping district is Fenton, which is a beautiful outdoor mixed-use space that just opened a few years ago, and it's aiming to be your one-stop place to live, work, and be entertained. It includes high-end retail from the likes of Lululemon, Our House, and Williams-Sonoma, some incredible dining options like Crawford Brothers Steakhouse and M Sushi, apartments, office space, and then a central lawn that they convert to an ice skating rink in the wintertime. Then there are more phases still coming to Fenton, and it's definitely been one of the best additions to Cary. And speaking of some of those great restaurants in Fenton, it begs the question, who has the better food scene? Well, because of its size, I'm gonna give the win to Raleigh here, but Cary is definitely no slouch. Michelin just released its top recommendations across North Carolina, and Raleigh nabbed 11 spots while Cary got 2. And I'll include a link to that video in the description below so you can see the restaurants for yourself, in addition to a video about all my favorite restaurants in Raleigh, since this video would double in length if I dove into that topic. But one area where Cary really shines is with its Asian cuisine, including places like Taipei 101 for Chinese, Sap for Vietnamese Laotian fusion, or Himalayan Nepali for Nepalese Indian cuisine. So you'll have great options for dining out whether you're in Raleigh or Cary, but you'll likely find yourself coming to Raleigh more often for your nicer nights out. So let's talk about what kinds of homes you're gonna find in each, since this is actually one of the biggest differences between Raleigh and Cary. Like I've said, Raleigh is the older of the two, and that's definitely reflected in the housing stock. You'll find a lot of the historic homes from the early 1900s closer to downtown, which is where you'll also find our 8 historic neighborhoods. And then as you work your way out, things tend to get newer and newer. But still, a ton of Raleigh was developed before 1999, which is a key year in North Carolina's housing history, since that's when the Planned Community Act was passed, which essentially mandated that any community with more than 20 homes must have a homeowners association. That means that you're going to find way fewer HOAs in Raleigh than in newer parts of the triangle like Cary. So in 2025, there were over 4,400 single-family homes sold in Raleigh, and only a little over 50% of those had an HOA, which actually was a lot higher than I was expecting. But as you can see in this map, they're mostly focused outside the Beltline, which is what we call I-440 that loops around Raleigh. And that makes sense as Raleigh grew in concentric circles out from downtown. It also means that Raleigh is going to have a lot more variety in its housing stock, from historic bungalows to multi-million-dollar new construction, and truly everything in between. And you're going to find a lot more individuality in neighborhoods due to the lower prevalence of HOAs. Cary, on the other hand, really grew alongside the development of the Research Triangle Park. This is crazy, but its population was just around 3,300 people in 1960. But that all changed as big companies started flooding into the area, like IBM in the mid-60s, followed by SAS in the mid-70s, and Epic Games in 1999. And to accommodate all that growth, Cary was the first city in North Carolina to build a planned unit development, or PUD. These are large-scale communities that include everything in one place: homes, shopping, restaurant, parks, and even community and religious centers. The PUD model became so popular in Cary that over 20 were built in the 80s and 90s, which means you'll find a ton of housing from that period in Cary. So it'll come as no surprise that a full 80% of Cary's nearly 1,200 single-family home sales last year were in HOA communities. Now, I made a whole video about the pros and cons of HOA communities, which you can find here. But if you're very anti them, then Cary might not be the right place for you. But if you like the idea of more homogeneous and manicured neighborhoods, then you're going to have a lot more options in Cary. But it's not just the types of homes and communities that will vary between Raleigh and Cary. It's also the prices you'll pay to get into each. The overall median single-family home sales price in Cary in 2025 was just over $720,000, while Raleigh was more than a quarter less at $535,000. But that doesn't tell the whole story. See, with all that variety of housing stock I mentioned in Raleigh, it means that you'll find a lot more variety in housing prices. On the low end, Raleigh's cheapest house sale in 2025 was $125,000 to Cary's $265,000. But you'll also find hyper-exclusive luxury neighborhoods in Raleigh, especially inside the Beltline and then north of I-540, which is also known as the Outer Beltline. The top sale in 2025 in Raleigh was an eye-watering $7.5 million, as compared to just $3.8 million in Cary. But for the average person looking at the typical home in either market, prices are usually going to be more affordable in Raleigh than in Cary. Okay, let's talk about schools, since this is a huge determining factor for a lot of home buyers. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I'm a bit limited in what I can say about schools to keep compliant with federal fair housing laws, but I do have a great resource if you'd like to dig into the school system more, so just drop me a message if you'd like her information. Both Raleigh and Cary are part of the Wake County Public School System, which Niche.com ranked the number 4 best school system out of the more than 115 in the state. So whether you're in Raleigh or Cary, you're gonna be part of a great school system. Now, the most unbiased way I can present this is by showing you this map on Niche.com that shows its rankings of all the schools in the district. You'll see that Raleigh has mostly A's and B's, so really great schools, while Cary is pretty much all A ratings. So do with that what you will, since what may be an A-rated school to one student could be a complete misfit for another. But I will say that a lot of people are attracted to Cary for their great schools. So that's a quick look at some of the similarities and differences between two of the Triangle's most popular destinations, Raleigh and Cary. In Raleigh, you're going to get more of a big city vibe with more variety in architecture and neighborhoods, fewer HOAs, more cultural institutions, better restaurants, and generally cheaper housing options. In Cary, you're going to get a more manicured city with master plan communities, landscape medians, amazing parks and greenways, and incredibly convenient access to everything the triangle has to offer. So, which is right for you? Well, I teased at the beginning of the video that I have an incredible tool that can help make that decision a lot easier for you. It's called my Neighborhood Match Survey. Now, this isn't a generic survey that spits out generic results. It's a bespoke analysis based on a variety of factors that are most important to you. From what your ideal week and morning looks like to whether you want to be around people with the same political affiliation as you. Not only do I use this survey with my clients, but I've actually taken it for myself, and it was spot on with the results. So I've included a link to the survey in the description below for you to check it out for yourself, and I'll reach out to you within 2 to 3 days after you take it to share your results with you. But another great way to determine what's right for you is to visit and explore for yourself. So if you're ready to kick off your home hunt in the Triangle region of North Carolina, be it in Raleigh, Cary, or otherwise, I'd love to be your guide. You can reach me by phone, email, or text, and you can find all my contact information in the link below or by scanning this QR code right here with your phone. And if you liked this video, I have a whole catalog of others all about moving to, living in, and buying real estate in and around Raleigh, North Carolina. Here's another one here that you may like, so give it a click to keep on watching.